Inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
If you're looking for a good real estate book to read, I made a list of all the books we've talked about here on the show. You can check it out at rentalincomepodcast.com/books. There are a ton of ways to find a really good deal on a rental property, and one way is to use a wholesaler. And joining me on the show today is a really successful wholesaler, Mike Giorgianni. I'm going to pick his brain and find out how we can use a wholesaler to find a great deal. Hey, Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
So for anyone that doesn't know, why don't you just tell us real quickly, what exactly is wholesaling?
Yeah, wholesaling is basically the real estate process of finding and controlling under market or deeply discounted properties, then basically selling that deal to an end buyer or an investor such as yourself.
In other words, you're finding someone that wants to sell their house for under market value. You get the house under contract, and instead of closing on the house and then putting the house for sale as a flip, you're selling your contract to another investor who will come in and actually close on the house. Makes total sense to me. Let me play devil's advocate for a second. If somebody has a house to sell, why would they call you when they know that you're going to pay them under market value for a house? Why wouldn't they just hire a realtor and list it in the MLS and sell their house the traditional way?
Honestly, it's possible that the property is nowhere near the condition to list it and bring people in. It's also possible that they just don't have time to have a realtor, sit on the property for 6 months waiting for it to sell for a retail price. Another popular reason is, we promote. They don't pay commissions, closing costs, attorney fees, closing fees, title search fees. There's a lot of different things that you can avoid, going to us.
Okay.
And we're here, we're ready, agents, they don't buy houses. They sell them. But again, you're going to, depending on what you list the property for, you're going to end up setting on it. But one of the biggest reasons is, no commissions, no closing costs. We do things fast, and that's about it.
All right, give me a hypothetical number. So say a house that's by the time it's fixed up, it's in perfect condition. Say it's worth $100,000 and you're going to buy it at a wholesale discounted price. What would you typically offer on that house?
We typically offer, or what will we? I guess it's all relative to the market. And honestly, when I sell deals to investors, they're usually in between the range of 50 to 70% under market. There's a few different factors and that go into what an offer would be, just depending on the cost of repairs. If it's a buy and hold type property, or if it's a fix and flip opportunity, there's a few different factors that go into play with that.
Okay. And so then the value for me as someone that wants to buy a rental property is that I don't need to go out there and make a bunch of offers and find a bunch of sellers. Someone like you is out there, you're in the market, you're finding people that want to sell their house, and you're getting a good deal.
Yeah, that's my business model, man. I sell under market and investment properties to investors that are looking for them. And again, one thing you can pretty much solidify is you don't have to take the time to do that, because it is another business in itself on finding those deals.
Right.
Other than newer investors, they go on the MLS and they try to pick them out, but you're going to be mostly paying retail prices for those. And my business model is, finding those under market deals, and it's just a better source, another source.
How do you get paid? Like, would I pay you as an investor, or are you getting money from the person selling their house? Like, how does that work?
No. We there's a couple of different ways. We find the properties that are under market. I do 99% of everything I do is what's called an assignment of contract. Basically, I have an executed agreement for sale on all the deals that I have, and I just assign that property for a specific fee, to an end buyer.
Okay, so hypothetically, again, if for that $100,000 house, if you're buying that house for $50,000, you might mark it up $5,000, and you're maybe selling that to the end investor for maybe $55,000.
Right. If you're looking at that ideal $100,000 property, the typical. I don't like to give percentages because honestly, it just depends on the market that
Sure.
you're at, and kind of go off the fact of what investors are paying for that properties in those areas. But if you want to go off of percentages just to make it easier, you have $100,000 property. Just go off of what you probably normally hear is 70%. Is what you end up picking that particular property up for, minus any kind of repairs and our fee that's involved in that. So that's kind of our offer, and what you can potentially pick that deal up for and have that instant equity.
Are most of the properties in pretty bad shape? Am I going to need to do a total rehab, or are there some that maybe just need a little bit of paint and carpet?
Yeah, no, honestly, it's I get a lot of deals that come my way. Either I've done some that are turnkey that have tenants already in them. I've done some that have light cosmetic, heavy repairs. There's all different types of deals, and all different types of deals for each type of investor out there.
Okay. And I assume when you're talking to the seller, part of the value that you're giving the seller is that you're telling them that you've got an all cash offer and you're going to be able to close quickly, right? Is that
right?
So as a buyer, do I need to have all cash and be able to close real quickly?
Yes and no. Sometimes you'll see where I have, owner finance deals, subject to deals where there's default mortgages or whatnot. But for the most part, the reason why I say yes and no is because, you can always go with, personal loans, private funds, hard money, which I don't recommend. There are even other programs out there for investors to help the acquisition of those kind of deals.
Okay.
And then they can refi, do whatever they want after that. But yeah, that's the whole name of the game, and that's why you get a good deal under market.
Right.
There's different ways to fund deals, but if you look at it from a sense to close, up front you kind of you have to have cash. You can't hold the property as collateral to get a loan, appraisal, inspection, all that kind of fun stuff.
So can I see the house before I buy it, or am I just going off pictures, or how does that work?
No, I put a lockbox on most of my deals, and then if it's a tricky situation to get in the property, I usually meet the buyer out there personally.
Okay.
One way or the other, you will get in the house. You will have a chance to inspect it, bring a contractor, or whatnot before we do any paperwork.
Okay, so if I think, okay, this is a great deal, I want to buy it, I take a look at it, bring my inspector, everything looks good, then we can move forward. So I'm not okay.
Yeah, let's put a deposit on it. Roll, man. We'll close it. We'll close in a couple weeks.
So how do you find sellers? Like, how are you finding deals?
There's a lot of different ways, actually. I don't limit myself to one specific strategy. I use signs that you see on the side of the road. I use letters. I have bird dog investors that going out there working for me, and networking and referrals. Those are the most of the ways that I've been finding my deals.
Yeah, I think this is a really great way to find rentals. I really hope that some of our listeners will find some local wholesalers to pick up some more rentals. One thing that I've noticed is that talking to a lot of people working in real estate is a lot of people say that they're wholesalers, but when I talk to them about it a little bit more, they either have never done a deal or they're just getting started. Do you find that's common?
They're usually the ones that call me.
So like, because there's no barrier to entry. Anyone can call themselves a wholesaler. So how do you weed someone out to make sure that you're dealing with someone that's good and is going to actually be able to find deals?
Yeah, I mean, that just, I would hope that it would just be calling them up and asking them if they do deals consistently. That's the biggest thing. But I mean, there's ways to find wholesalers, but to find the good ones, you do got to do a little bit of due diligence, whether it be by Google search, Craigslist. I mean, you can search for LLC. Although the big thing is, if they're doing consistent deals, a lot of times they'll show up to your local RIA.
Okay.
Which is, obviously the Real Estate Investment Association. They do, monthly meetings where you may see wholesalers exposing deals that way. Could try calling, some of the signs off the side of the road that say we buy houses. A lot of times those are wholesalers there. But again, I mean, you don't know, who you're calling, if it's, if it's somebody new in the business or whatnot. But essentially somebody new in the business can bring a smoking deal to you. You just never know.
Right. Okay.
But it's all about, asking what they have available.
That makes sense.
Chances are if they say they don't have anything available now, but they will, it could be somebody new. But again, they could bring in a smoking deal, and you just never know.
Is there any advice that you would give to someone when they're working with the wholesaler? Is there any gotchas or anything that you got to watch out for?
I will say there's a term in the wholesaling field as daisy chain.
Okay.
That's when you'll see where you may have a wholesaler and he'll take a deal to another wholesaler, which is fine. I do co-wholesaling all the time. But you do have some people that may do it without the permission, and just you see one person marketing the property and then another person marketing it, and you may see price changes between one and the other. I don't get involved in that, but that is kind of something to be I guess leery of out there. If you see property for one price and then you see it for another, I don't condone that business and don't get involved in that, but that is out there. It's not out there as much. It's out there with the newer, a lot of the newer stuff, wholesalers, but most of the time those are the ones that, you just see on Craigslist or something. Okay. Like that.
Well, Mike, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for someone to contact you and to see the properties you have for sale?
My email or my business line. And I can give that information to you.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
My email is pretty easy. It's virginiahomeoffer@gmail.com. And my business line is 858-633-3758. A direct link would be virginiawholesalerealestate.com.
And what area do you generally have deals in?
I cover all of Virginia, and that may be my my downfall. I don't limit myself to one specific area. I live in a smaller city called Danville, but go out to Roanoke, Lynchburg, Richmond area, and of course, I get deals in the I guess the further parts in Virginia. Yeah, that's what you want to call them. But I don't limit myself to a specific location. I have a buyer's list of a lot of investors looking for all different types of deals in all the major cities of Virginia.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate your time and your information. If this is your first time checking out the podcast, you can hear more episodes at rentalincomepodcast.com. We're also on iTunes and whatever platform you listen to podcasts on, I'm sure we're there too. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.